Hi everyone, thank you for joining our webinar today, How to Save Money on Oracle Licensing in Any Cloud. Before we get started, I'm just going to go over a few housekeeping items. First, this webinar will be recorded and you'll receive a link to access the recording tomorrow via email. Second, for the duration of the webinar, all participants will be on mute. However, we encourage you to ask questions. If you would like to ask a question, please use the questions box to do so. We will answer all questions at the end of the session. And finally, if you experience any audio or technical difficulties, please use the chat box to let us know so that we can address those issues. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to David Stableford to get us started.
Thanks, Marissa. Hi, and thanks for joining us for our Oracle licensing webinar. My name's David Stableford. I've been working for and with Oracle for the past 12 years. Here with me today is Hazel Hopes, who has many years of Oracle licensing experience and is only one of a few people in the UK who's completed Oracle certification, which accredits her to perform reviews on Oracle estates. Just a quick reminder about InnoApps. We're 100% dedicated and focused on Oracle solutions. We cover everything Oracle brings to market, from all of their application ranges, SaaS and on-premise, down to their infrastructure and technology layers. And we provide managed and hosting services for our customers' Oracle applications. And we also provide change management and training services. As I mentioned, we have Hazel, an accredited license specialist, on this call to take you through some of the pitfalls of Oracle licensing. And these are the things that we're going to cover: license models and Oracle approved clouds, calculating consumption, counting processes, bring your own license versus license included, compliance risks, and cost savings. And with that, I'll hand over to Hazel.
Thank you, David. Good morning, everyone. My name is Hazel, and as David has already mentioned, I have many years of Oracle licensing experience, having spent more than a decade in the industry. So on to our first topic. There are more public clouds available, of course, but Oracle actually only endorse 3. So their own cloud, commonly known by 3 main types as infrastructure, platform and service, Microsoft Azure and Amazon Web Services, commonly known as AWS. We will return to these later on in this webinar. When considering a move to cloud, you first need to think about how you might address the cost of your future cloud deployments. Generally speaking, there are 2 license models available to make your migration. There is a license included subscription model, which means you're subscribing to the cloud provider, and this includes all of your Oracle product support licenses and your support. The second is to bring your own license, which means you're taking your on-premise license into the provider's cloud. The first important consideration here is that customers need to be within support to do this. Now, if you would, we would like to ask you to engage in a short poll, so I will hand you over to Marissa to start this one off.
Thank you, Hazel. So our first poll question for today is, if you are in the cloud or considering a move, which cloud is your preference? I'm going to go ahead and launch this for you now. Your response options are no requirement to move to cloud, Oracle, AWS, Azure, or other. Please take 10 seconds to make your selection and we will share the results. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll. It looks like the winner for our attendees today was Azure.
Wow, okay, that's an interesting outcome. All right, we'll see where we go with that further on in this webinar. Thank you very much. Okay, so if you've made a decision to move, how do you reconcile what you have on-prem with what you want in your particular cloud? Well, firstly, you need to understand what your on-premise estate looks like. So try to provide answers to questions such as, do you have any on-prem applications you want to move to cloud? If you do, reviewing them for compliance is crucial. For example, eBusiness Suite could easily be non-compliant through the overconsumption of specific applications like financials. Equally, you may be over-licensed, where purchases have been made historically that are no longer required. All of this should be understood and resolved before a lift and shift to OCI. And taking a database environment, how many instances do you actually have? Knowing the answer to this governs how much compute power you need in your cloud, so also give some thought to what's production, and therefore likely to be a higher compute requirement, and what's development, which will probably be a lower compute requirement. How are your products configured? Again, taking database as an example, do you know, for example, what options and packs you're using? Some database services offer editions with more availability for options and packs, things like extreme performance, for example. Others will cost less and offer less, so it's very important to understand what you're using and what you need to replicate into cloud. Also, are you currently compliant? Do you have sufficient on-prem licenses to cover your existing estate? It's a key point, particularly with bring your own licensing. But generally, without this visibility, it's unwise to migrate to cloud, as you could be migrating something that's already at risk. Are you still paying support to Oracle or a third party? You do need to be within support to make bring your own licensing an option, remember. Is any of your estate legacy and using older end-of-life product versions? Some older version of products, again, Oracle Database 10G, for example, are not available in cloud environments. So upgrade paths need to be identified and mapped out early in the process where this is the case. This is also likely to extend your journey into cloud. Do you have any licenses which are not for use? So things like application-specific, proprietary hosting, or limited use licenses should all be investigated thoroughly to understand the implications of moving to cloud. Remember, you still have a master agreement with Oracle, which determines how these types of licenses can be used, and those rules will likely still apply in your cloud environments. Lastly, does your estate integrate with any third-party products? Integrations can present architectural headaches, particularly if the third party is a legacy item which does not translate to cloud. Again, this will extend your cloud journey. All of your answers to these questions will have an influence on your cloud migration. Or put another way, if you don't know what you have, how can you know what to move? This understanding of your estate is particularly relevant to a case study InnoApps have documented. So I'll hand you back to David now to take you through that.
Thanks, Hazel. Look, in this example, InnoApps migrated a very large and complex e-business suite instance to OCI. After the migration was successfully completed, the customer was contacted by Oracle, who believed they were significantly under license. InnoApps' license team was then engaged to have a look at their licenses differently and recommend the best way to license the estate. The answer was pretty straightforward. We simply changed the license metric from bring your own license to license included and saved the customer millions in license fees. The customer was in a difficult place, but our knowledge and skills helped fix the problem, which was a great result. Back to you, Hazel.
Thank you, David. So when you figured out what your estate looks like, then you can calculate what you might consume in cloud. So if we were to start with a database example in Oracle's own cloud, the consumption is measured by an Oracle Compute Unit, otherwise known as an OCPU. For bring your own licensing, the calculation would be as follows. So Oracle allowed 2 OCPUs to 1 on-premise processor license. Note you cannot use that one license in both cloud and on-premise. It is either one or the other, not both at the same time. You are required to be within support and to keep on paying it. Plus, you have to keep a close eye on your cloud consumption to be sure you don't exceed your license allowance. The pros with bring your own licensing, well, there's license mobility to move back to on-prem if you aren't entirely happy with your cloud decision. You've already covered the financial outlay of buying the right to use the products and are already paying support. Bring your own licensing database services also come with some freebies, including diagnostics and tuning management packs. You would likely have to pay for these in any other endorsed cloud. The cons with bring your own licensing, you have a finite pool of licenses to consume from. Flex is only possible if you buy more, and you only have 100 days to complete the service migration. This model is also only applicable to platform as a service, not to infrastructure. If you have a EULA, you can, of course, use this to provision instances in the cloud. You cannot, however, use the same cloud instances to contribute to your EULA exit. You could also drop your on-premise licensing completely, stop paying associated on-prem support, and join cloud as a license included subscription. These are offered in two varieties: pay-as-you-go, where customers pay monthly based upon usage, and annual contracts, where customers commit to a volume purchase. This service will, of course, attract a higher discount due to the upfront commitment. The pros of license included, you can flex up and down as needed, and when comparing OCPU to processor license pricing, it's clearly cheaper. If you're able to decommission your on-prem estate completely, possibly you will also have a reduction in overhead costs for running and managing a data center. The cons are unexpected bills and potentially tough contracts where commitment to usage can be required and funds lost if not consumed during the contract period. You're also essentially paying twice, as you may have supported on-premise licensing, which is now null and void, whilst having to outlay for fresh cloud consumption costs. It's also worth noting that a mix of subscription and bring your own licensing is forbidden on one instance. This means you cannot increase compute power by buying additional subscriptions when your on-prem licensing runs out. For AWS, the same license model types are available, where 2 vCPUs are equivalent to 1 Oracle processor license. But AWS has limitations on its license included model, which means you can only run standard edition of Oracle Database, and all of your support is now via Amazon. For Azure, the same calculations apply, but Microsoft and Oracle now have a strategic partnership, which means that only bring your own licensing is available, although support models can be a hybrid between them both. Now, once again, we would like to ask for your participation in a short poll, please. So I will hand you back to Marissa.
Thank you, Hazel. So our next poll question is, if you are already a cloud user, what license model are you using? The answer options are bring your own licenses, subscription, both, or not deployed. I'm going to go ahead and launch that poll now. Please take 10 seconds to submit your answers, and we will review them once they're complete. Okay, it looks like the majority of our attendees today have selected not deployed.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, some food for thought then. So what's your best option? If your estate is relatively static, there are gains in using bring your own licensing. It's money you've already spent, support fees you're already paying. This option can also be for customers dipping their toe into the cloud waters for the first time, as it allows a certain amount of flexibility to return to on-prem if needed. However, if your estate fluctuates rapidly, if your organization is growing and making acquisitions or divestments, then license included is far more likely to allow you enough flex to change things quickly. In either option, the key to success is monitoring and control of your cloud environments once they're active. It is a very different environment to the old on-prem variety, so some thought should be given to who in your organization takes on that responsibility, and if that requires overheads in training or reskilling, or if you prefer to outsource to a trusted partner. Now, when you're already working in cloud environments, it's easy to think you can avoid non-compliance or that your costs are simple to control. But in a bring your own licensing environment, being non-compliant is easily done because, again, you have a finite pool of licenses to allocate to your cloud consumption. If anything, bring your own licensing raises your risk because cloud environments can be difficult to keep sight of. So it's easy to create new instances of something or increase OCPU counts and literally become non-compliant overnight. In a license included subscription environment, you might still be surprised at the costs involved when your cloud bill arrives and how quickly you burn up your pool of funds. So whilst it isn't non-compliance as such, it may lead you down a path of expenditure you hadn't prepared for. This model can also include a use it or lose it clause. So if you overestimate at the beginning of your contract, you will lose anything not consumed during the contract period. The common assumption that cloud equals no compliance risk is clearly demonstrated by another case study that we have for you now, which I'll hand back to David to take you through.
Thanks again, Hazel. Look, InnoApps has assisted many customers in providing visibility, knowledge, and confidence around their license estate. essentially removing the risk of unexpected software license expenditure. In this example, Innomax were asked to perform a soft audit of their customers' Oracle technology stack and assess their eBusiness Suite usage to help decide on the preferred option to migrate eBusiness Suite to Oracle Cloud. We produced a report and found a significant issue. If Oracle were to have performed an audit, there would have been a compliance risk for around £400,000 plus several years back support to be paid. After following the suggested activities in the report, such as reviewing user populations, reclassification of users, and some migrations, the compliance risk was completely removed. We also identified a number of purchased but unused products within the EBS environment, which enabled them to negotiate a reduced cost when transitioning to the cloud with Oracle. So it was another great win for us. And back to you, Hazel.
Great, thank you, David. So now we're going to talk a little bit about software as a service environments. Now, these are very different to PaaS in a way, because these are measured by user subscriptions, and they're controlled by the allocation of roles and privileges. Some of these roles and privileges are created by default when services are started, and if they're not then removed, part numbers or SKUs for services you never signed up for could appear in your usage reports. Oracle call these predefined roles and offer a list of them to check against your deployments. Oracle will not do this for you. It is your responsibility to check and ensure you're only using what you've licensed. These SKUs also share roles and privileges, which can lead to confusion. InnoApps know that Oracle are using reporting, they call it a subscription diagnostic report, in SaaS environments as a way to track usage, so early housekeeping and regular reviews are crucial to avoiding the need to defend under audit and potential associated future costs. Now, once again, we've got a case study which explains how easy it is to fall into the housekeeping trap. So once again, I will hand you back to David.
Thanks, Hazel. One of our customers came to us after running their license usage report on their SaaS environment, which showed the subscription costs in the millions over what they had purchased. This report is also a report that Oracle can view. The report showed that they were subscribed to modules they had not purchased, and subscriptions were being shown as used in the wrong departments. For example, someone in HR doesn't need the procurement license or subscription. We identified that the users had all been set up as standard users and not customized, so the user roles were wrong. We unpicked all the roles to ensure that the license roles were accurate, and then the usage report was rerun showing full compliance. What's obvious to us can sometimes be very worrying to our customers, but we're always very happy to help. Back to you, Hazel.
Thank you. So now we're going to talk about some cost savings in cloud. So there are practical ways to reduce your cloud footprint by fully understanding what you've deployed and, importantly, how you're consuming it. So think about some of these things and possible activities you could undertake for each. Firstly, did you right size before you moved? If not, there may be instances in your cloud which are now redundant, duplicated, or consuming more cores than you need. And on that note, what do you actually need? Lower cost services with less functionality might well suit your non-production environments. Are you currently using Bring Your Own licensing? And if so, do you regularly check to ensure your cloud deployment does not exceed it? If not, there's a very high probability you are now in excess of your license grants and should take steps to review. Do you have a hybrid environment which is costing you money in data center and in cloud? If you're keeping the lights on in a data center, how much is that costing you, and what are your plans to end date it? What does your license consumption actually look like? Are you worried your costs are increasing? Do you rely on someone else to give you a view of your cloud estate? If the answer to any of those is yes, you could benefit from a ground-up review to obtain some visibility of where your biggest costs are and then work on reducing them. Do you have extensive SaaS environments? And if so, who set them up? Who's monitoring them? And have you run reports to tell you which roles and privileges your users are consuming? If you've not, there's a very high probability that you could be found to be using services you haven't bought simply because of startup configurations, duplications, and a lack of housekeeping. Now, this webinar has mainly been about cloud. However, for those of you who still have on-prem estates, these are some cost-saving areas you might consider. Look at the metrics you're licensed by. Named User Plus is clearly cheaper than Processor. So if you've got controlled non-production environments, considering using this metric for those. Look at your CSIs, your customer support identifiers. Singular CSIs with no usage could possibly be terminated for support cost reductions. Consider shelving. If parts of your estate are unused for a time, Oracle may, at their discretion, agree to stopping support payments for an agreed period. Exploit hard partitioning. So, for example, customers with Solaris and IBM environments can benefit from partitioning and reducing core consumption. And finally, VMware virtualization. There are mechanisms that Oracle will allow you to use to overcome the common issues around this virtualization technology, and so reduce your compliance risk. And on that note, we have a final case study for you now, which is all about VMware. So once again, I'll hand you back to David, after which we've got another short poll for your participation, please.
Thanks again, Hazel. Look, this example focuses on the inherent dangers when using Oracle on VMware. Due to growth by acquisition, a customer came to us to better understand which licenses can be used by which entities. Our report found that they were using VMware. In versions of VMware, shared storage is required for an end user to move the virtual machines throughout the environment. In these situations, Oracle requires you to license all the physical cores of all the physical hosts that are part of the cluster that is connected to the shared storage. This is like parking in a multi-story car park and paying for every single parking space. In this instance, we identified a compliance risk in the millions of pounds, but after implementing our advice, the exposure was brought down to a few £1,000s and also reduced the customer's blood pressure to a much healthier level. This is a great example of how a lack of Oracle licensing knowledge can cost millions of pounds and provide zero business benefit. So in summary, not only can we help you with Oracle licensing aspects, we can work with you to perform the move to the cloud. It's unwise to start moving to the cloud without fully understanding what you have. You may want to gain flexibility in your Oracle licensing, for instance. If you've got a mixture of cloud vendors and on-premise licenses, we're able to capture the entire estate to produce a baseline and provide visibility on costs. A very important piece that often gets overlooked is using the move to the cloud as an opportunity to take advantage of the licensing models licensing models in cloud to optimize your license estate. Inuact is a global organization with offices in EMEA, APAC, the USA, and the United Kingdom with over 600 employees. We can work with you to perform the move to the cloud, drawing upon the skills and experience of hundreds of professionals with a broad and deep knowledge across the entire Oracle portfolio, from cloud to on-premise, and from application through to technology down to infrastructure. And with that, I'll hand over to Marissa for one final poll.
Thank you, David. So our final poll question for today is, do you believe you have sufficient visibility into your Oracle estate to make cost savings? The options you have are no, yes, and unsure. I will go ahead and launch that now. Please take 10 seconds to submit your answers. Okay, thank you. It looks like the majority of our attendees have answered no. Hazel, are we ready to go ahead and jump into some questions?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, great. I will go ahead and start going through the questions that we've had submitted. And just a reminder, if you have any questions, go ahead and type those into the questions box now so that we can have David and Hazel walk through those answers for you. So the first question that we have is, how does Oracle licensing in Azure work versus in OCI, and what discounts are achievable through negotiation?
Do you want to take the discount question, David?
Yeah, I'll take the discounts. Look, Oracle Cloud is designed to be a lot cheaper than their on-premise licensing. I mean, essentially with cloud, you don't have to license for the peak performance of your application throughout the year. So you can sort of elastic burst up and down as and when you need to consume the cloud. But that's not saying that discounts aren't available. The more you buy from Oracle, the bigger the discount you get. And when you buy from Oracle can also, well, it will impact this. So for instance, if you phoned Oracle in the last week of their fourth quarter of the year and offered them a deal. It's infinitely more chance that it'll be taken than at any other time of the year. However, the discounts available on cloud, in my experience, have been less than the ones that used to be available for on-premise licenses and hardware.
Okay, I think we addressed mainly how Azure works versus OCI. The calculations are largely the same. The only thing that we would stress is that Oracle Cloud will clearly give you greater flexibility. They do have a strategic partnership, but you will find that things like database, for example, I think starts supported at 12C. So if you've got slightly older versions of database, you're going to have a bit more flexibility there. Oracle clearly have a greater range of applications available. They will tell you that their cloud is much more flexible and much more geared to it. But it's not impossible to to run Oracle products in Azure. They have a partnership specifically for that process.
Okay, great. Thank you both. Good information. So the second question that we got was, we are considering moving from an on-prem ODA to Azure. We have enterprise edition processor-based database licenses. What should we keep in mind?
I'll go first with that one, Hazel. I think the things you need to keep in mind really is with an Oracle database appliance, it's an appliance that's built to run Oracle database. So if you were to move away from it, certainly if you were to move away to a different cloud vendor such as Microsoft, I would be looking at the possible reduction in performance. Because, as I say, the ODA is built to run the database. You get storage included, you get the operating system included, the patches patched every layer from database down to the infrastructure and such like. And it's sort of an IT team in a box, so to speak. It's actually quite a good product from Oracle, and it offers some quite good value. However, the performance would be the cost of the licenses and the performance would be the main things that I'd be looking into before the move.
Okay, great. Thank you, David. Our next question was, how likely are Oracle to audit cloud products?
When Oracle first came out with the cloud, I was actually working for Oracle, and some of the sort of promises, should I say, were the fact that you could remove the risk of being audited if you moved into Oracle Cloud. And the audits that came out of Oracle Cloud, weren't really that forthcoming, sort of 8 to 10 years ago. But then again, a lot of the cloud that was sold by Oracle wasn't actually being consumed. I think in more recent times, we're seeing more and more companies being audited by Oracle. I mean, it's in the agreement that you sign. It's in the master agreement that you sign with Oracle. And Oracle has always been, certainly from the technology database space, it's always been a compliance-driven revenue organization. I think it's something like 75 or 80% of their revenue in the technology database license area comes from auditing customers. So I think it's going to become more prevalent as time goes by and the on-premise instances are reduced.
Great, thank you. And our next question is, what happens if I try to move Oracle products to a cloud they don't endorse?
Do you want me to take that one?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the main issue with it is that there is no license model to adopt, right? If Oracle don't endorse a cloud, then they are not going to provide a mechanism for you to license through that cloud. So there's no subscription included, there's no bring your own license. The general feeling really is that Oracle will not endorse any additional clouds other than Azure and AWS. And that's purely because they want to discourage customers from using any cloud other than their own.
But the flip side is, in that instance, is you can cancel your support if you move to a non-approved Oracle cloud. Save some money there. I wouldn't advise it.
No, I wouldn't advise it either. No, definitely inadvisable, I think, to cancel support. That would put you in a very serious situation in terms of not only compliance but security.
Okay, great. Thank you both. So that was the conclusion of the questions that we had submitted throughout the session. But I just want to encourage anyone who has some lingering or outstanding questions to go ahead and use the contact information that you see on the screen here to reach out to David, and he can have a one-on-one conversation or give you some personalized answers to any additional questions. At this time, I want to thank everyone for attending today's webinar. And just as a reminder, you will receive an email tomorrow with a link to the recording. Please feel free to share that with your colleagues as well as to rewatch for yourself. When you leave today's webinar, you'll receive a survey about the presentation. We'd appreciate it if you would take 30 seconds to answer a few brief questions so that we can use your feedback to tailor future sessions. On behalf of InnoApps and our presenters, I want to thank you for joining us and have a great rest of your day. Thanks all.